And we're live, just like that. So, welcome. We started with the welcome, 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 and then realized that's exactly what Armchair Expert does. So we won't do that anymore. But I'm Jason Flynn. I'm out of the Santa Cruz, California market. So it's right here outside of Silicon Valley in the Bay Area. And today we brought on Sarah. I got to make sure I meant to ask you, Maslowski.
Great job. You got it.
Nailed it. I'm so excited. I got one name right ever. So Sarah Maslowski, who's out of the North Metro Atlanta area. So kind of wherever my market is, the opposite market, right? So
Yes.
we go left coast, right coast. We're all over the place. So today we are talking about how Sarah generated 85% of her business leveraging YouTube. Right. And so using practically it's herself and a whole bunch of admin support that's going to help out, but doing 85% of her business through the power of YouTube. And I have one quote that I meant to pull up first. If I can pull it up real quick, I'm still going to quote it. I got this she did an interview with our favorite person to follow around, Ken Pozek. And they talked about this is a much easier grind than making cold calls, calling expireds, or holding open houses. It's a much more fun way of doing real estate. Would you say that still holds true?
Yeah, 100%. So earlier in my career, I remember Gary Keller saying the quote that he has of like, you have to do the things that you don't want to do until you can not do the things that you don't want to do. However that saying goes, much more eloquently stated by him. So, yeah, my first couple of years in real estate was, a grind. I was doing everything from open houses and for sale by owners, expireds, any and everything I could to get business. And it wasn't until I really focused on one strategy, which was YouTube, when I was, kind of began to make my life a lot easier and focus on one lead source to convert. And so, yeah, that was kind of the beginning of the end of all that hard hustle and grind and a little bit of an easier way of getting business.
Into something that kind of more suits your personality, I'm guessing. Or do you feel it more suits your personality, or do you just feel like it's just something it's working, so I keep to do it?
I mean, it's definitely a much more fun way of doing business. So, I mean, it's fun to be creative. It's fun to make video content. I'd much rather do this than, cold call or circle prospect a neighborhood. It's a lot more fun, especially for the ego, to have clients call you up and like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm talking to you." And you're like, "What, me?" But people really feel like super excited to get a chance to talk with you, and they don't realize that, you're, I'm special as an agent, but not that special.
So essentially, really, what we're going to talk about is how you built this up into a way that, I mean, these are my words, not yours, but you might agree, of how to get people to reach out to you like they already know you, right? Like
Yes.
this isn't you go knock on a door, even if you meet them at an open house where they come to the house, it's like they're the ones taking the first step. You still don't know them. These people, it kind of sounds like they already know you by the time they're reaching out to you. You just don't. It's a very one-way relationship, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm going to share with y'all a little bit more about how I built this and the model that I followed. You mentioned Ken at the beginning. He is fantastic and, light years ahead of a lot of agents in their YouTube journeys. And so I feel like what I'm going to give you today is a little bit more on the practical side of how you can get started and build it to where he is. Am I able to
Yeah.
put slides?
Yeah. So we're going to
Okay, there we go.
we're going to use these as kind of, we were saying, like jumping off points. Like she has some slides. You can drop questions in the chat, whether you're watching this on the StreamYard side or the YouTube side. Go ahead, drop your questions in the chat and we'll pull them up as we go. I will try to remember to tell people to do that, but I also forget a lot of the time. But one like really cool part about what we're going to talk about where you're mentioning Ken is that it's like, that's the definition of like a true model. Whereas Ken moved to a new state, dove into YouTube, built up this massive business all off of YouTube. And now we're starting to see people like Sarah or people like we were saying, Brandon, not Kenny Blankenship, and a couple others where they're starting to that Ken had all of you on stage at Mega Camp talking about how you've built your businesses, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, but different digital new media sources. But going off of what he built, and so often we'll have people like, oh, he's in Orlando, it only works there, or things like that. But we have Orlando, we have Chicago, we have Kansas City, Atlanta, right? So it's kind of all over the map where people have started to use that model, make it their own, because that's also what Gary Keller talks about, right? You follow the model till you know it, then you make it your own. And now you have something that's bringing in business consistently and actually is the major part of your business. So
Yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, so a little bit about me. I got my background in, I have a background degree in marketing, and I ended up falling into a teaching position because we were living in a small town in South Georgia, got laid off from my first two jobs out of college after the recession. And so they needed teachers and I needed a job. So I ended up working for a couple of years. And finally, I realized that teaching life was not for me. And so I got licensed in 2018 and got out of teaching and into real estate full time. So I mentioned that, the first couple of years in business was a little hectic for me, business all over the place. And but I kept hearing how important video was in your business and how you need to incorporate video. You need to incorporate video. I was trying to incorporate video a little bit all over the place, and I'll kind of share with you my journey and how I kind of landed on YouTube. But just to share a little bit about my journey in YouTube, I first started making YouTube videos in the fall of 2020. Ended up closing one deal from those videos in the fall of 2020. Some of these numbers were a little bit bolstered by the pandemic and everybody moving. And 2021, we served 25 families. 2022 was 44. And last year it was 60 families, over $1 million in GCI off of those 60 families. So if you would have told me back in the fall of 2020, when I was trying this, that this would lead to a dramatic MREA business, I would say, you're crazy. Like, this is
I
not
laugh
possible.
them out of the room.
Yes. Yeah. So needless to say, this strategy works. And this is my channel moving to Georgia. I'll kind of get into the evolution of how I ended up here and where I started. Whenever I started making YouTube videos, this was, and I'm not, this is just a screenshot, but this was a video that I was posting on Facebook of educating people about, like, hey, you can put down as little as 3% and purchase a house, or here's how to save money on your property taxes. And they were filmed on these green screens. And this was from like an expensive video course that I had taken, using a strategy that they said that was going to be very successful, and running ads behind these videos.
Mhm.
I did not get any business from these videos. And I also realized
But you
really,
spend a lot of money.
yes, I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of money on ads. And I also realized at the time, because the algorithm had changed, I was going to have to spend a lot more money on ads to get these videos seen on Facebook. And so I was very discouraged. And so I was putting also these same videos on YouTube, and also not getting any, leads from there either. So when I came across a group of real estate agents that were having success on YouTube, I was very skeptical. I was like, wait a minute, like, no, I have videos on YouTube. I'm putting listing videos and these informational videos. I've interviewed some restaurant owners and highlighted businesses. And, that's not working. So what I realized, these are some other videos that I posted on YouTube 4 years ago. As you can see, these have been up on YouTube for 4 solid years, and they still have terrible views. I don't know how I ended up getting the screenshot of them both having 177 views, but
That's pretty
um,
good.
but yeah, this just goes to show, like, people don't care about this type of content. Um, and the reason is that the type of consumer that's doing research on YouTube are typically not your local people that need this information. Or if we just take this for what these videos are, this is a really broad topic that could pretty much serve everyone in the country of how to stage your home to sell. And, you know, my little channel, is not necessarily like, how is this video going to get me a local lead? I'm not sure. So needless to say, like, this was a bad strategy. So, I posted listing videos, hired another person to film a really great video on how to sell your house. He told me he knew what he was doing, and I just had to film this and post it, and I would get leads, and that didn't work either. So when I came across these, here's some more bad ideas. These were interviewing restaurant
I
owners.
love our gallery of bad ideas.
Yes.
I love it.
Maybe people want to know about the top fall festivals. No one's calling me for real estate to buy or sell their
Yeah.
house after watching that video. So when I saw that these other pages were having success from YouTube, when I went to look at their channels, what I realized is that their videos on their channels look drastically different than those mistakes that I just showed you. And the difference was that those videos that those agents were posting were all about relocating to a specific area. And when I say relocating, it was talking more so about the town, like what's great about living here, what's not so great about living here, how much does it cost to live here, what does $500,000 get you in this town compared to this town. And it was really information that someone that was new to that area or that was moving to that area would find very, very helpful. They're not going to find it helpful to know, how to save money on your property taxes if they don't live there. So that was the aha moment that I had, was that they didn't have any listing videos at all sprinkled throughout. It was just solely focused on this one specific type of viewer. So I just did what KW teaches us, is that once you get a good model that you can follow, you just need to duplicate it and go out and do it. So I looked to see what videos they were making, recreated that, and inserted information from my own town and started to post it. And one thing, Jason, that you mentioned, so I'm here in the North Metro Atlanta area, and I'm about an hour northeast of Atlanta in a town called Gainesville, Georgia. And when I first heard that other agents were having success doing this, there was another real estate agent at the time back in 2020 that was teaching a very specific way to create your YouTube channel. And she was teaching that you needed to go to Google, look at Google Analytic data, search words, and find out how many people a month were searching moving to your town. So I did that. And 20 people a month in 2020 were searching moving to Gainesville, Georgia.
Yeah, and they probably actually meant like Gainesville, Florida.
Probably so, yes. And I don't know how that number lands with you, but for me, I was like, this isn't going to be worth my time.
20 people.
Like,
Yeah,
why would I
I
do
need to
this?
talk to 20 people a day, not a month.
Yeah,
Okay.
like 20 is just not enough. And, compared to these other cities where Orlando, Dallas, hundreds of searches a month or thousands. So I was a little bit discouraged. And then I started thinking about that a little bit more. And I was like, wait, nobody else is making content on my town. I'm not working with 20 clients a month right now. If I could work with 10 clients a month right now, that would be great. So if I'm the only source to provide this information for people that are searching for this, then I should at least get some of that business my way. So that was kind of a little bit of a mindset shift for me. And so that's when I started making content in the fall of 2020. Now, this graph is just kind of to show you that you can kind of see these blips on the lines there. That's every time I would post a video, and how many. This is the wrong graph to kind of show, but that was showing subscribers, but really it kind of relates also to views. One thing I learned from these other creators that were having success is that you have to post one video a week and you have to be super consistent. And you can see that in the beginning, 3/4 of 2020, I was very inconsistent with posting. And then once I started consistently posting, that's when subscribers started consistently subscribing, views started consistently happening. So when I made the switch to making relocation content based on the area that I live in, that was kind of like the major shift for me in getting results. So these were some of the very first videos that I posted. A lot of this was based around the Gainesville area. And whenever, of course, these videos have been up now for a long time. But when I first started posting these videos, the views were terrible. Like, the first video that I posted, even like a week later, maybe there was still single digit views. And that for me, that was very, very discouraging because it's
Yeah.
like, why am I doing this? Nobody's watching it. Um, but for me, I kind of made a commitment to myself that I was going to go all in on this strategy for a good solid 90 days before I gave up on myself, regardless of what the outcome was. Because I was like, what if this is just like the one time you tried really, really hard to make something
Yeah.
work and you didn't give up on yourself and didn't get shiny object syndrome? So that was a commitment I made to myself.
What if I actually tried? Like,
Yeah,
I like
like,
it.
what if we really tried? I mean, like, really tried. So, so I had made this commitment to myself, and even 6, 7 weeks into it, most of the videos only had, maybe 20 something views, and I'm sure the subscriber count was, like, in the single, maybe barely breaking double digits, and it was a random Saturday afternoon, and I got a random phone call from a number I didn't recognize, and it was a guy saying, "Hey, just saw you on YouTube, and my family, we're thinking about relocating to Gainesville, and we'd love to talk to you about that." And y'all, I was just like flabbergasted. I was like, "Oh my god,
Boom.
oh my god, like this is happening." And I could not believe that someone was reaching out to me, and I was like, "It's working." So that was super exciting, and that gave me the encouragement to keep going and keep posting. But it also taught me like a very, very important lesson is that I got that first phone call from posting videos that were not so great. I'm going to show you a little bit about what those first videos look like. And also it didn't matter that I didn't have hundreds or thousands of views on my videos immediately. I just needed to be reaching the right person to call, um,
Mhm.
to reach out to me. And I would rather have fewer views reaching the right people than thousands of views and nobody reaching out to me.
And I was gonna bring that up about in that what we were saying, the gallery of what wasn't right. In one of those videos, where it was like 1,500 views, which I think for most realtors, 1,500 views is actually a lot compared to what a lot of us will get. But if you're not getting anything out of it, it's like, okay, like that was cool. Kind of like almost like having a billboard, but nobody actually calls the number. Like, cool.
Yeah.
They saw me. That's great. But it was national or international because it's YouTube. So did it really do anything? Probably not. And so I think that's a really solid point.
Yeah. Um, so here's a screenshot from one of those very first videos. And I like to share this to say how comparatively, like what you see right now is my background for my YouTube videos now, but this was my background for my first couple of YouTube videos. And that's because I didn't take the time or energy or effort to kind of invest in like create this of what's behind me, because I didn't really have this set up in my house. We live in a 1960s brick ranch that was severely in need of remodeling. Um, and so I filmed this in the best spot in my house that I thought I could find. And you can see the lighting here is not great. Um, if you actually watch this video, the audio is not great. And um, also, I think it's funny looking back on this. It's not the fact that this video is zoomed in to that point. It's just that I felt like I had to stand that close to the camera because I didn't realize you could zoom in and editing and get that framed just right. So, but the point is that you just have to start with where you're at, and you're going to get better along the way, and you're going to learn. But these first few badly edited videos that I did myself with poor lighting and bad sound got me business, because the lesson in that is it's more so about the information and the content that you're providing that is giving a lot of value to the viewer versus the production quality and the editing quality of the video. Don't get me
Like, do
wrong,
you
like it matters,
remember?
but you're going to get better as you go.
Do you remember what this video right here was about when you're showing?
I believe that one's about Lake Lanier, like maybe the pros and cons of living on Lake Lanier or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because that is the question that you don't even have to answer it now that I want to get to, though, is that a lot of your videos are this, where it's not, we're not going out with a production team out to the lake or out to all these different neighborhoods. Most of them you're shooting, if not all of them, I'm not 100% sure, but you're shooting in your office, like in the exact setup you have right now, right?
Yeah, so this is like a YouTube studio. So this is kind of like a fake little office that I've set up in my basement. This is not my actual office. This is just two painted walls behind me because I'm lazy. So the other half of this room is a disaster. And I kind of have like this little pretty background set up just in the frame that you can see. And because it just gives a better visualization for the viewer. But I film my videos talking head style, where I'm talking to the camera just like I'm talking to y'all right now, and I'm stationary. So I have tried filming on location style videos, and there's lots of, the great thing about this lead generation strategy is there's lots of different ways that you can do it. And Ken does his videos where he's on location with a videographer that's filming him, and he's walking around and talking. um, I have personally tried to do that myself. And what I have found is that it takes me a lot longer to produce a video that way. And it's a lot harder to control for things like weather, people out, blowing the leaves off their lawn, the school bus coming by, all the things
Dogs.
that
It's
kind of
always
interrupt.
dogs.
Yes. So for me, I just liked having the control and knowing that I can always film on a Sunday evening at my house and get it done. So it allows me to be more efficient with my time and control things a little bit better. So that's how I do it. But you'll see that there's lots of different ways that you can do this, and it works for a lot of people. So this was my channel growth in 2021 whenever I started consistently posting videos. And I like to share this for me to remind myself and for others that if you compare yourself to other content creators on YouTube, some people are going to have like tremendous growth really fast, and some others are going to take a little bit longer. It took me a good solid year of consistently posting to get my first 1,000 subscribers. And for me, it took forever to get to that point. But the one thing that I've thought I learned, but I keep having to remind myself, is that when you compare yourselves to other content creators, again, it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have. It matters how much business are you doing from the videos that you're making. Because at the end of the day, you're not an influencer or a social media content creator. You're a real estate agent hoping to get real estate business from this. And if you're not doing that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Recently, I was kind of getting, I guess, like in my feelings of like, hey, I've been doing this now for 4 years. There's a couple of other real estate content creators that I follow that have recently had some videos that have just like really taken off. And I'm like, why? Like we try so hard and we're so consistent and we put out really great content, and our videos are better than theirs. And how come, that video they just posted, got 50,000 views in 1 week, and we've never had that type of like instant success. And then having conversations with those agents and saying like, hey, how's your business? Like you must be needing a lot of leverage now because, of all these views that you're getting, and it must be translating into all these leads. And it was surprising to me that the answer was not what I was expecting. They still had a very small business from YouTube. And I was like, wait, what? This doesn't make sense. So again, it just reiterated to me that you shouldn't be striving for viral videos or for, tens of thousands of views. You just need to make sure that you're providing the content and the right content for the people that need what you're making. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 1,000%. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying at the very beginning too about, would you rather like go cold call or go do all these other things, or would you rather make YouTube content or just content, internet content in general? Because kind of same thing, you could go talk to 100 people by door knocking, and 99 of them, it doesn't matter, right? So it only matters for that one. So kind of in the same way where it's like, yeah, you might have, actually, here's a good analogy to tie it into open house. When you do an open house and you only have 10 people, but you had 3 good conversations, versus the person that has this other listing, somehow they had over 100 people through the open house, but they didn't get anything out of it because they didn't even have the time to sit there and talk to the people.
Yeah,
Right. So like, if you want to tie it back to that, it's like, it's always going to be quality over quantity, but sometimes the quality is in the quantity. Right.
yeah,
So it's like, okay, that might be good for them later. I like that spike right there on the one that you have right there.
Yeah.
That the
Yeah,
subscriber
that was
spike.
like the one best performing video I had in 2022. Um, so no, actually, I think that was when I was on Mega Camp stage. This was subscribers, and that was all the subscribers I got from being on
That's when I
stage.
subscribed. So I'm one of those little dots. You're welcome.
Yes. Um, so in 2021, it took, almost a good solid year to get 1,000 subscribers. And then 2022, we grew by 3,000. And so just the nature of YouTube is that it's going to exponentially grow over time because you're creating a library of content. And the more content you create, the more YouTube learns the videos, the people that watch your content, they have a better understanding of who to put that content in front of. And so naturally, you're just going to grow faster over time. So I just like to remind myself and everybody that a misconception about making YouTube content is that you have to invest in really expensive equipment or you need a lot of stuff. So still to this day, I film on an iPhone, and I do that because, well, that's what I found out other people were doing when I first got started. And I was like, great, I already have that. I don't have to learn anything new. And, over time, iPhone's cameras have gotten better and better. So continue to use that. I didn't want to, I'm very cheap. I don't like to spend money on a lot of things. So I didn't want to go out and buy a new camera. You will need good lighting, but you can find good lighting on Amazon, relatively inexpensive. I think the lights that I bought were around $70, and I still use those to this day. And you will need a good microphone. So lighting and sound is really important on the videos for the just overall viewer content pleasure. And I use a really inexpensive shotgun microphone that I got off of Amazon 4 years ago that costs like $40. So you don't have to invest a lot of money into the production of these videos. I will say the one thing that you do want to spend money on is having a good editor to edit your videos. In the beginning, I tried to edit my videos myself, and I thought, I could save money and, all those good things. And I realized like at 11 o'clock at night when I was trying to figure out how to make something jump across the screen in editing that this was not a good use of my time. And I just wanted to go to bed, but I needed to put a video out. So that's when I realized like, if I'm going to put a video out every single week, I need to hire an editor. And that was a very scary cost for me in the beginning. And so, but it's a very necessary thing that you need to do. You need to have a good editor. You're a real estate agent. You need to be running your real estate business, not editing videos. So one good thing or one thing to think about if you're thinking about doing this and you have a great relationship established with a lender, you might want to find one of your, lender partners or another ancillary person that you have that might be willing to partner with you on sharing the editing cost or maybe covering that for you. Because naturally they're going to benefit from the business that you're going to gain from this as well. So,
And they probably want to. Ooh, I have a siren coming. We'll see how that. Like we said, when you're on location, I'm not even on location. We have sirens. The lenders might want to go through this as well. Like you can literally share this recording with them and then say, "Hey, let's team up on this together." Like, why not?
yeah. So I partnered with my lender back when I, started doing this in 2021 when I realized like, hey, this is a thing, and I'm going to be getting, good business from this. And that lender is very happy that he's the go-to lender
That
for
he
me
did it.
for all of these leads that I get from YouTube. This is just a sample of some of the lights. This is the cheap microphone that I still use to this day. So
I'm gonna drop in the chat. I literally watched a random one last night. I think it just popped up in my YouTube feed about this guy's setup where he has it on his desk and the desk is on wheels and it's a standing desk. So he can move around. There goes that fire truck. So he can move around. And if you take the camera aspect out of that, I think the cameras he uses in there are $1,000 each. Realtors don't need a top-down camera, so eliminate that one. And then the other one, use your phone instead of the camera that he uses in there. The whole setup's probably going to cost a couple of $100. between the light. He uses a very similar, I think he uses the Rode version, but very similar microphone, a couple of stands that he has mounted on the end of the desk, and that's it. It's actually really simple. And then you just showed like the RGB lights for the color behind you, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's really not much. And you also proved you don't need it, but it's a very quick upgrade you could get to.
Yeah, and this is things that, you can do over time, and the most important thing is to just get started and,
Mhm.
and you can improve those as you go. Someone in the comments asked, "Who do I use, for video editing, someone local or online?" We have used various different editors over the years. Um, Again, it's more important that you just get started rather than trying to find, like, the perfect editor. And I personally have found that it feels like as you start to get more educated and know and understand what makes a great video and, what you like, eventually you're gonna kinda hit a ceiling with your current editor, and you're gonna need to, kind of upgrade or go out and find the next one that could be the one for you. So right now, we use one that's based in the Philippines that we just found, through an online job posting on a Philippines job board. But we've tried people here locally, in the States. We've tried video editing companies. So we've been through 4 or 5 now at this point.
Yeah. And I think part of that too, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but that you almost do have to try it at first to then be able to communicate what it is you want, right? Like it's kind of hard to just be like, make me a video that looks like this versus when you've done it at least a little bit, especially if you don't have business yet, like don't drop the money on day one. Like there's a lot of good, especially with some of the AI tools. Now there's a lot of things where you can make very simple videos on your own, but then it does make it so much easier to communicate what it is you want when you've at least tried it a little bit, right? Or know what the tools are.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And um, I've also learned that just communicating with editors is a different ball game than regular communication, different personality styles and how they learn and think. And everything's got to be like very black and white and very, very, very specific. But sometimes you don't know how to communicate what you want until you go through that process. So I think one thing that works really well for me, in the beginning is that I kind of learned like, hey, once we get a video to like 80, 85% good, let's just roll with it. And then I'll give the feedback for the next one. Like, hey, next time, let's not do X, Y, Z. But it's not worth your time going back and forth 10 times to get something perfected when at the end of the day, the consumer really doesn't notice that thing. And it's really not worth your time as an agent to spend it going back and forth like that.
It's like that idea of just get 1% better every time. And so
Yeah,
if you're doing a video every week, and if
right.
every video you do is even just, tweak the thumbnail, tweak the title, tweak, as you said, like being able to frame in and out, like that's one that makes such a little difference of like zooming
Right.
in on some words, zooming back out.
Yes.
Add those little tweaks here and there every single week. And by week 52, you've got like a nailed video, that you didn't have anywhere on week 1 when you were in your gray basement or gray
Yeah.
room.
Yeah. And that's also why working with an editor over time, it should be getting better and better.
Mhm,
And it's, we all have the expectation that you're going to get this perfect, amazing video, just like the examples that you sent in. And
mhm.
that's not going to be the case.
Kind of shifting gears a little bit. I meant to ask it at the beginning to clarify for people that didn't understand, but how are the people actually reaching out to you, or like what are your calls to action in the videos? Like through the website, or are you just saying, "Hey, call me"? What are you kind of doing there?
So in the beginning, of making, like for the first year or two, we had our website posted, on YouTube, phone number, email, and we would have all of that posted beneath our video and just like, hey, if you're thinking about making a move, reach out to me. My contact information is below. And what we found is that you would get people reaching out in all those different methods. Some people would go to the website and fill out a form there. Some people would text you. Some people would call. Some people would email. Um, and, eventually realize work smarter, not harder. And so now we direct everyone to book a call with me using this link. And so that link has them fill out a Google form, which just has some screening questions, asking them area, price point, how certain are they that they're making a move, anything else that we should know. And then from there, that form goes to myself and an assistant. That assistant will reach out initially to that lead, ask a few more screening questions, and then schedule a call with me. I don't like to give the lead the ability to directly book a call with me. And I know that some agents will have that, like a Calendly link on their YouTube sites. What I have found is that sometimes you get people that reach out to you that they're not thinking about making a move for like 3 to 5 years. And, they're planning their retirement. Well, that's not really worth my time to spend
That's
an
not your
hour
today
answering
time.
all the questions for them that early in the process. So we found that Google form kind of gives us a way a little bit to screen out, and my assistant can handle those phone calls and, spend a little bit of time answering their questions, and then we can put them into a follow-up system and still stay in contact with them, but it doesn't trap me on the phone with that person for an hour.
Yeah. Because we a little bit kind of jumped over it at the beginning, but it was 2023. Did you say 66 transactions or in the
60,
60s? Yeah.
yeah, 60 transactions from YouTube.
Oh, that was just from YouTube.
Yeah.
So that wasn't even total, but that's even crazier. But the point I wanted to bring up was that you're the licensed agent on the team, right? So it's not like you're just generating these to hand them off to somebody else. It's you are servicing all these clients, but because of the admin help that you have, you're able to. Whereas a lot of times the accounting firm agents, they're hitting like 10, 12, 15 transactions. And it's like, oh my God, I need a team. And it's like, look how much you're able to do as the only licensed agent on the team. And I mean, it even blows my mind now that that 60 was only through YouTube. So
Yeah. So I will say that, it's not without challenges and
mhm.
help. So one thing that I did implement in 2022 is that we brought on a showing partner.
Okay.
So it's myself and a showing partner that works with clients. I try to have the showing partner handle as much of the showings as possible. And the conversation that I have with leads whenever we talk to them is saying, hey, this is how we work. It's going to be myself and my great agent partner. It's a combination of us showing you houses. I have it set up that way so that if I'm ever with family or, in an appointment, you're always able to see a house. And they never bat an eye at that.
Mhm.
And so, at the end of the day, they're just happy that they're getting in to see houses and, that we have the flexibility to meet their schedule. Um, because the unique thing about these leads is that they're typically coming into your area for a few days with the intention of, hey, we're trying to find a house. And
Yeah.
so you're condensing that house hunting, trip into those 1 or 2 days. So you're seeing 7, 8 houses over that time period. It's funny because when we do get a local lead that reaches out and we start working with them and, one day they're like, hey, can we go see this house? And then next week, hey, this one just hit the market. And we're like, gosh, why do they always want to go see houses?
Yeah.
But we're used to doing everything in a condensed amount of time. So I do have a showing agent that helps. And then I have an in-person admin that answers the phones and kind of screens calls and helps out with some other boots on the ground stuff. And then we have a transaction coordinator. And then I also have a virtual person that helps with marketing.
Okay. And then Sarah had asked in the comments, can you talk any bit about like, especially since you said you've used a couple different editing options, just ballpark, what does that end up costing? Like some people might think either very, very low, or some people I've in a Facebook group recently, someone said, I could never hire a full-time editor. So just kind of ballpark, could you say like what somebody might cost to edit your videos?
Um, yeah, it's one of those things where you can pay pretty inexpensive on Fiverr, but the quality is not going to be that great.
Mhm.
And then you hear some people, some local people will charge an arm and a leg. And it's like, that's outrageous. So I personally have found that to get someone good, you're going to be between like 100 to 250 per video. And some of these online services, there's a couple where you can pay, I don't know, like $750 a month and you can get unlimited stuff edited. The thing is they're only going to work on one project at a time. Some of the downsides also is that usually their communication times are because they're using editors overseas. They're editing your video in the middle of the night. Then you're waking up the next morning and giving them the feedback, but then they're not getting it till that night. So it's like a little bit of a
Slows it
longer
in.
delayed process. Um, so, again, I would just say reach out to people that ask for recommendations on who they're using. Our recent one that we're using, we found from, a virtual job board on onlinejobs.ph, which is the Philippines job board for a lot of virtual assistants. So there's a lot of great talent out there. You just have to kind of go through the process, weed, try different things and try and see what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where the number is wild, but I think even you saying that 150 to 2 or like 100 to 250 per video, even saying that, because kind of going back to you're doing one video a week, right? Like, and it's that one video a week consistently. Is that the cadence that you're still doing?
Yes. So still doing one video a week. We now do a live stream twice a month. And, your video production cost is going to vary, especially if you're doing this on location and filming. So I know
Mhm.
another agent in South Carolina, he does his filming on location. I think his editor charges $400 to $500 per video.
Mhm.
Um, and when I hear that, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. Like you could be doing this a lot cheaper. And he's like, but hey, I have a great return on investment. I don't care that, it costs as much. But at the very beginning, it's hard to kind of know that and trust that this is going to work. But I can say with certainty that this will work for you if you stay consistent, and if you continue to get better at what you're doing and you just trust the process.
Sarah then commented, she did the math since I won't do it publicly, about 10,000 per year averaging with one video per week. So it's like, okay, the average commission from one transaction is around 10 grand nationwide. So it's like, okay, if you you'd break even on that one, if you got one deal out of it, doing it 52 weeks out of the year, I think that's probably going to be a good return, assuming you're
Yeah.
going to get more than the one transaction.
I mean, when you look at your cost, yeah, if you look at the return on investment, I don't know of any other real estate lead generation out there that will give you this great of return on your investment.
Especially like you started off with comparing it to, okay, I'm going to make these other videos, I'm going to run ads behind them,
Yeah.
and like those ads, like you're essentially, we always say do you have more time or money to invest? Well, this one kind of like you could very much do it all off of just time, right? You don't have to really invest anything. You don't have to, and it can stretch a lot further versus just sticking random ad dollars behind a video and hoping that it strikes. And you won't know for that month after you dropped 1,000 on Google. You won't know until that month 1, 2, or 3 is over that you actually didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 100%.
um, so let's see. Venki is asking about what's the best way to do the video, and then so he's asking about like the agent talking, like you were saying, talking head, or also showing data through PowerPoint. I guess I'm going to kind of reword it a little bit. Is like, how much are you talking about like that data or statistics? Like, do you do market updates at all? Or are you pretty much just sticking to those bread and butter? Here's things about a neighborhood.
A little bit of both. So we do most of the content, 75-80% of the content is more what we call like evergreen content, meaning you can watch it at any time of the year and the information is going to be relevant. So pros and cons of living in a certain area. Here, 5 great master plan communities in the area. And as you're talking about the neighborhood or the area that you're living in, and let's say you're saying, hey, it's got a really great downtown area, great shopping, the freeways nearby, easy access to this town. You want to show video clips to kind of reiterate what you're saying, because just watching you for 10 minutes talking about something is going to be very boring, especially if the purpose of them learning about this area is because they've never been. So they want to see what it is that you're talking about. So you want to have that what's called B-roll footage so that they're seeing what you're talking about as you're talking about it. And the video is going to jump back and forth between you talking and then them seeing images of it. Occasionally, if you're talking about a specific price point, you can have the numbers pop up on the screen. But it's not like you're sharing like a presentation that you've put together. It's more so, video images matching up with what you're saying. Market updates do really well for us. And the challenge with that is that, they're only relevant for a short period of time. And I have found that whenever we're giving market update videos, it's not just regurgitating a bunch of stats or the latest home sales, and what mortgage rates are doing, but rather what are you seeing, experiencing, and how are you working with your clients in the current market with what's going on? So, for example, my market update videos right now, there's a lot of talk about, hey, there's a tale of two markets. What we're seeing is in these areas, homes are sitting on the market for longer. What this means for you as a buyer, it means that you have a little bit more bargaining power right now than what you did in the past couple of years. And what we're expecting is as interest rates come down, there's going to be more demand. So you have a pretty narrow window of time that you can take advantage of this. For example, we just recently, got a buyer under contract for $20,000 under list price, and the seller paid $15,000 in closing cost. We couldn't dream of that a year ago. So like, you really want to give the impact of what that means for people today. And if you're just going to put that up there in stats and stuff without giving the explanation of that, it's going to be very, very, very boring for someone to watch, and they're not going to watch it. So you got to have like a good way of presenting that market information, more so in a way of what it means and stories of what you're seeing on the ground.
No. I was actually going to try to, let's see if this will work, but I don't know how life is going to work today. Let's see. I was going to pull up. So this is your YouTube channel, right? So moving to Georgia, and just, I wanted to show just kind of the examples of like, what are the current videos, right? And it's all neighborhoods basically, right? Why are so many people moving to Georgia? Like, I love that title. But then it's all about different neighborhoods. Johns Creek, Georgia. Top reason people regret moving to Georgia. That one did pretty good.
Yeah. So what we found is that negative titles do really well. And so it's a little bit clickbaity. One thing you'll also kind of notice here about the thumbnails, which are the images that you're seeing right now, it's kind of like the book cover to the actual video. They're a little bit cheesy, a little bit hokey. That's what works on YouTube. So that's not really my personality or my style per se, but you want to play the game of what works on YouTube. And some of those clickbait titles work really, really well. And don't be afraid to share the negative things of why people regret moving to Georgia, or why people hate living in this town, because one person's negative is going to be someone else's positive.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, they are literally like, think about somebody that actually is going to sit there and watch that video that is actually considering moving there. They want that information, right? Like if we're realtors and we know somebody is going to buy a house and this house isn't them for some reason, or we at least want them to know the pros and the cons, right? So it's not bad to say like, here's why some people might not want to move there. Like one, if we were to shoot it here, it's going to be traffic, traffic and high cost of living. We're not talking bad about anything. We're just saying, hey, the reality is, especially during the summer, traffic is awful, and so it's you being that neighborhood expert, or what do we say, the digital mayor, right? It's you actually knowing what's going on. So
yeah, and that's such a great point. Like, there's a popular neighborhood where I live, and it's a great, fantastic neighborhood. But if you're going to live there, you need to know that the entrance and exit to that neighborhood is very congested, and you're going to wait through 3 or 4 red lights before you can get into the neighborhood. And so when you share that information with potential clients, they're like, oh, wow, she really knows what she's talking about, because she knows this. And we would rather know this ahead of time rather than buy a house and be like, well, why didn't they tell us this? She doesn't know what she's talking about. Or they'd say, okay, yeah, we know this, but the neighborhood is so great that we don't mind having to put up with that.
What do you, I meant to ask this earlier. You mentioned B-roll. Are you just shooting your own B-roll like on your phone?
Yes. So we've tried it lots of different ways. So in the beginning, I didn't have a lot of money to spend behind this, and I think I should have said I was very cheap. So in the beginning, we were getting the B-roll ourselves, and I say ourselves, like I have an assistant, and so sometimes I would have her go out and get footage, and I was still just using my iPhone on a gimbal, getting these really simple shots, because the thing about B-roll footage is they don't need to be these cinematic, shots. It just needs to be a simple, pan shot
It's like
of an area. And
what does life look like in that area right now? That's all it
right.
is.
Or here you're talking about this great shopping, show me. I'm like, well, here's the great shopping center and here's another great shopping center. And the when we started getting more leads, more return on investment in this, I was like, okay, I can hire someone to go get B-roll footage. Um, my challenge with videographers or people that had video experience, I thought I was communicating well of like, here's what we need. And I would, send them out to go get these shots, and they would bring me back like a 2-minute clip of a bird sitting on a bench in front of a shopping center and someone like slowly walking into the mall. I'm like, that's not what I need. That's very, I
Great.
mean, it's pretty, but no one wants to watch 2 minutes of that. So we have just found that it's much, much easier to go out and get it ourselves. And so what we've learned in this process is that you're going to be making content about the area that you're talking about for a long time. And so this isn't going to be the one video that you're going to make about that you're going to need a shot for the shopping center. You're going to make 4 videos, 5 videos this year talking about this area. So whenever we go out and get B-roll footage, we kind of do like a brain dump of everything in that area that we could possibly mention in a video. So parks, shopping centers, schools, intersections, traffic, all the things. And when we go out, we spend a couple of hours and just get all of that footage, multiple clips from different angles of different places. And then we come back and dump all that into a Google Drive folder and label those clips so that the next video that we go to make, we don't have to go out and get more footage. We already have like a folder library that we can go and pull from. And so that's taken us from having to go out and get B-roll every single time for a video to maybe only having to go out a few times a year to get very specific clips, like if there's a new development that just was created or a
Mhm.
new construction neighborhood, because we already have 90% of what we need for that video.
That was something I picked up from talking to Brandon Blankenship, was that now he's doing Instagram. So
Mhm.
everything he is doing is vertical. So it's a little bit different. But all he does is stores the videos in albums on his phone. And like for whatever reason, that has never clicked in my head like until then. But
Yeah.
now, like if I'm out and about, it's like, okay, I'm in, we have this Capitola Village right down the street. Okay, well, while I'm there, shoot a few videos, put them into this album. Now I have this album called Capitola, and I can go in there anytime I need video of Capitola, and there it is. And so then since you have to then share that with an editor that's overseas, or even if it was somebody local, okay, then just moving that onto Google Drive to make it more shareable. But it's that simple. Like
Yeah.
I had in my head, it was always, I gotta go pay a guy, and it's gonna be maybe a couple $1,000s. He's gonna take a few shots for me, and it's like, nope, I could just do it myself, and it'll probably feel more real. So
Yes. And yeah, I mean, the thing is that you can go down a rabbit hole and spend as much money as you want, or think that this can cost as much as whatever you think it costs. Or you can do it fairly inexpensively. And I will just say, at the end of the day, you're still running a real estate business. And so you can get in full-time content creator mode and make this last as long as what you think it's going to last. And so I would still say put some parameters and boundaries around your time, and, and keep that in check, because this can be a rabbit hole. And you still want to continue on with all the other aspects of your real estate business until this gets to the point where this can really become your main focus. Um, yeah, and then I'll say another thing about capturing B-roll, and this took me a long time to kind of like the light bulb to click in my head, is that you should be capturing footage just about every time that you're out, either working with clients or you're going somewhere with your family or going out to eat. Because ultimately you're going to be talking about these things in future videos. And you don't necessarily know that you need something until you're in the moment of sitting down to create a video. And I'll give you a great example. Um, we have clients that I didn't realize that their definition of steep was different than my definition of a steep driveway. And
Mm.
so I was like, oh, we really need to educate clients that a slight incline on a driveway here is very normal and that's not steep. This is steep. And so now, if I'm out in a neighborhood showing houses, I'm like, oh, there's a really steep driveway. Let me go get a clip of that. Or, if you're going to a local festival that happens once a year, like, oh, this will make a really great, clip for a video. Let me capture this. So that's really important.
Yeah. No, I mean, even I think I also like the idea of the intentionality though too, to say like, okay, we're going to go to this neighborhood or this little city. What can we shoot in an hour? Think about like how much, especially if you went like when it's busy out, it's hustle and bustle. Like go
Yeah.
out there. How much content could you get just even on the B-roll side? Just shoot a bunch of content in an hour once a week or even once a month. You could probably start stacking up even once a month. You'd have hours and hours of content stored in a drive by the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great idea. I like that.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up, because I can't believe it's already almost been an hour, my kind of big one final question for you was, do you think it's too late for someone to start on YouTube? Because YouTube's been around forever at this point, it feels like. And sometimes it feels like everybody's already done it. So do you think it's still an opportunity for agents?
Yeah. I love that question because even I sometimes can slip into the mindset of me logging into YouTube and seeing another agent in my market starting to create content, and I'm like, oh, here goes another one, like more competition. And yet, here's the thing: there's tons of people in the Atlanta market making content. When I first started, I was probably like one of three that were like consistently posting videos, and I can say that my business has still grown every single year since then from YouTube. And those others agents are getting business from YouTube. And so what that tells me is that there's enough business out there for everybody. And
Mhm,
you're going to connect with your people and they're going to connect with their people. And some people
mhm,
are going to like my personality and be drawn to me, and some people are not. And that's okay. And so the mindset of there's only a finite amount of business out there, don't fall into that kind of scarcity mindset. There's enough business out there. There's enough people out there. And I've also found that a lot of those people that have started, they're not consistent and they'll do it for a time period and then they'll fall off and you'll go and see that they haven't made a video in months. This is a long play game. You have to post a video every single week and you have to show up every single week. And so I just know that I'm going to be in it for the long haul, and I'm going to be making videos forever. And most agents won't have the stamina or the ability to keep going. They'll get busy, they'll fall off, they'll say, "Oh, this isn't working," because they didn't have that instant success. So um, I would say that there's still a lot of business out there.
yeah. And I do think that's something people see a lot is, oh, someone in my area already does it. Okay. Like go do it better. Someone
Yeah,
in your
so be the
area
number
is
2
doing open
agent.
houses also.
Yeah,
Like
so be the second choice of the most popular agent that pops up on YouTube in that area. There yeah, there's a lot of business out there.
so awesome. How do people get a hold of you? We showed your YouTube channel, but tell us what's the YouTube channel and then how do people get a hold of you out there in Georgia?
Yeah, so my, YouTube channel is Moving to Georgia, and if you wanna connect with me on, Instagram, my Instagram handle is Sarah Maslowski. Um, I guess we can put it in the comments of my
Yeah.
name. I'll put that in there of how it's spelled.
So
Um
you put it so I don't mess it up. There you go.
Yeah. So, obviously on my YouTube and Instagram, there's ways to get in contact with me there. But yeah, I'd love to connect and help. And if you ever have a client relocating here to the Metro Atlanta area, we get a lot of Californians leaving California, coming to Georgia. I know that you probably have some people that you've helped do that same thing. So I'd love to be a great connection for you, and vice versa. Oftentimes we get people that reach out and say that they need to sell in order to come out here. So now I know
Yeah.
a bunch of agents in this area.
Now, you know, a bunch of those left coasters. So
Yes.
awesome. Well, I very, very much appreciate. I have like a page of notes even just for myself that I won't share with anybody else. They can take their own. It's great. So no, I
Awesome.
really appreciate it. And we'll yeah, I mean, we'll see who starts channels based off of this. So
Yeah, go for it. Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
all right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.